Libya's rival sides have agreed to hold elections on December the 10th. An advisor to Libya's unity government, Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj, made the announcement after a meeting in Paris, which aimed to find a political roadmap to end Libya's turmoil. On Tuesday, the French President Emmanuel Macron hosted rival leaders from the North African country at Nice Palace. The advisor said in a tweet, all sides also agreed on finalising a constitutional basis for elections by mid-September. Representatives from Egypt, Russia and the United Arab Emirates are also attending the talks. Well, for more, let's cross live now to our Nairobi newsroom, where Mahia is standing by with all the details. Mahia.
Thanks, Jeff. Indeed, as you mentioned, the rival administrations in Libya have agreed on the 10th of December as a tentative election date. It is a massive breakthrough after a long, violent civil war which has raged in the North African nation since 2011. Now, for more on this story, I'm now joined from Cairo by Ziad Akil, who is a political analyst and researcher at the Ahram Center for Security and Strategic Studies in Cairo. Ziad, what is the implication of the planned December elections in Libya, and is it achievable?
Well, we have to know first that what has been announced today is not exactly a plan. It is rather some very hopeful suggestions, because what will happen is that the Libyan parties, the ones who participated in the Paris meeting, did not sign anything yet. They will go back, consult their constituencies, and try to create this political consensus inside of Libya. It is attainable if there is a lot of international and regional pressure, which the French president was very keen to keep saying that it will be there. Is it achievable? I think it is definitely not an easy task, because what seems to be more achievable is having a constitutional referendum, is putting a constitutional framework, but after all, it has been very difficult to manufacture international and regional consensus as well as domestic consensus between the different actors within the Libyan file, either on the Libyan inside or in the Arab world in North Africa or in Europe and the United States.
And Ziad, how can a politically divided Libya be assisted in organizing credible polls, and should the international community be financing these elections?
Well, this is a very important point, because the elections has two dimensions. One of them is the political one, which we already talked about. The other is the logistic and the administrative one. No, of course, Libya does not have the sufficient capacities or capabilities or even the electoral infrastructure, whether it has to be with computer software or say proper balloting or glass boxes. There are so many different, there's an infrastructure for the elections, a logistic one, that I believe the international community should not finance the elections, but should definitely be interested in collectively monitoring them, in making sure that if they are held, that there are enough mechanisms and mechanics to make them apparent, to make them actually honest and fair elections.
And given that there are already armed factions opposed to holding the election so soon, what security challenges will the country have to overcome before electing a new leadership?
There are, of course, several security challenges. First of all, you have the militia question, and the fact that there are so many arms uncontrolled and the state does not monopolize violence on the Libyan inside. At the same time, you have a lot of divisions between Libyans themselves, specifically when it comes to military groups. So there are so many factions from Libyan military entities that could easily be divided, and that would make a very much worse security condition. At the third time, you have a significant threat of radical groups like perhaps Daesh and other groups, and at the same time they might be relocating. You have fragile security in the Libyan south and a lot of trafficking networks that go from Chad, Mali and Niger through Libya, sometimes through Libya to Europe. So there are several security challenges, and there are several networks that do not want to have an election to be held in Libya.
All right, Ziad Akil, thank you very much for your insights. Ziad Akil's there speaking to us live from Cairo. Now, the rival administrations in Libya have agreed, as we mentioned, on the 10th of December as a tentative election date. It is a massive breakthrough after a long, violent civil war which has raged in the North African nation since 2011.